They told you masturbation was dirty, that it was shameful, that it was something a man should have outgrown by the time he turned 50. But what if I told you that very belief might be silently destroying your health? Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Bennett. I've spent over 2 decades working with older men fathers, grandfathers, veterans, husbandsmen just like you. And I've seen firsthand the quiet damage caused not by disease, but by misinformation, guilt, and silence. Let me ask you something. Do you believe that pleasure, connection, and vitality are only for the young? Have you ever felt that your desire was something to hide or worse, to ignore? Because here's a truth I wish every man over 60 knew. Masturbation, yes, pleasure isn't just normal. It can be vital. Not only for your prostate, but for your memory, your mood, your hormones, your connection to yourself, and even to the people you love. You see, I've treated hundreds of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who were tired, withdrawn, suffering from poor sleep, frequent urination, or just feeling off. And often, the real issue wasn't what they were doing, but what they had stopped doing. Nobody told them the cost of silence. Nobody told them that a body unexpressed begins to shut down physically, emotionally, hormonally. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 7 powerful truths about masturbation after 60. Some of these might surprise you. Some might make you uncomfortable. But all of them could change how you experience aging from something to endure into something to embrace. So, if you're ready, take a deep breath. Set judgment aside. And let's talk about something that just might bring you back to life. Truth number 1. Mindless masturbation is quietly damaging you. It's one that most men never think about. Masturbation itself isn't the problem. The problem is how you've been doing it. You see, over time, many men fall into patterns that become automatic crushed, mechanical, goal-oriented. You're not really feeling anything. You're just finishing. Like checking off a chore on a to-do list. It's quick. It's private. And often, it's done with a mind full of stress or guilt. But here's the danger. When you repeat this pattern over and over, your brain starts to adapt. It gets desensitized. The same touch doesn't feel the same. The same images don't excite you. And eventually, your body stops responding the way it used to. You might start noticing it takes longer to get aroused. You might feel numb where you used to feel alive. Or even worse, erections become weaker or disappear completely. I can't count how many men I've spoken to who've quietly admitted they no longer feel pleasure the way they used to. They've lost the fire, and not just in the bedroom, but in life. Because this isn't just about the physical. When you disconnect from your own body, you begin to drift away from everything else: your joy, your presence, your relationships. One man told me he hadn't really touched himself in years, not with any care, just quick, rushed moments, followed by shame. And in time, he began avoiding intimacy with his wife. He avoided closeness. He felt like a shell of the man he used to be. He thought it was just aging. But the truth is, it was disconnection. You see, your brain and your body are deeply linked. If you treat your own body like a machine, it will stop feeling human. And this kind of numbness? It can lead to isolation, emotional flatness, and even depression. But there's hope. Because when you relearn how to be present, how to slow down, how to actually connect with your body again, that spark, it can return. So I want you to remember this. Masturbation is not a race. It's not a task to rush through. It's a way to reconnect with your senses, with your mind, with your aliveness. This may sound strange coming from a doctor, but I'm telling you, as someone who has seen it, time and time again, presence matters. Intent matters. And treating your body with Karevan in private can awaken something you thought was gone forever. Let's move on, because this is just the beginning. The second truth may surprise you even more. Truth number 2. No ejaculation means prostate trouble. We've talked about the damage of rushing through pleasure without presence. Let's go deeper into something most doctors won't say out loud. Your prostate health may depend on ejaculation. Yes, you heard that right. Your body still produces fluids, especially your prostate gland. Even if you're not sexually active, even if you haven't been with a partner in years, your prostate continues its work. It creates seminal fluid, part of your natural biology as a man. But here's the catch. If that fluid isn't released, it builds up. And what happens when things build up with no outlet? They stagnate. They inflame. They start to cause problems. Many of the men I see in my practice struggle with nighttime urination. Some feel a dull ache in the lower back or pelvic area. Others complain about pressure, or just a sense that something isn't right down there. And they often chalk it up to age. But in many cases, the underlying issue is simple. The prostate is congested. The gland is full but never gets emptied. And over time, this chronic congestion can lead to inflammation, which can lead to prostatitis, an uncomfortable and sometimes painful condition that can make life miserable. Waking up multiple times at night to urinate, pain after sitting too long, that constant awareness of your bladder, even when it's empty. And here's where it gets even more serious. Chronic inflammation in the prostate has been linked to higher risks of prostate cancer. Now, I'm not here to scare you, but I am here to tell you what the science says. A large-scale study by Harvard University followed over 30,000 men across several years. And what they found was remarkable. Men who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer, by up to 33%. Let that sink in for a moment. This isn't about performance. This isn't about ego. This is about health. About giving your body the signal that it's still functioning, still releasing, still alive. Ejaculation isn't just a private act, it's part of your body's maintenance system. Just like sleep. Just like bowel movements. Just like breathing. And when you neglect that function, the system starts to misfire. One of my patients, a 68-year-old retired teacher, came in exhausted from months of discomfort. He'd tried medications, supplements, even meditation, but nothing worked until we addressed the root cause. He hadn't ejaculated in nearly a year. He thought it was no longer important. When he began to include regular, intentional release into his routine, everything changed. Better sleep, fewer bathroom trips. Even his mood improved. So let's be clear. Masturbation after 60 isn't about fantasy. It's about function. It's about keeping your prostate healthy, your nights restful, and your days free from that constant, silent discomfort. This is your body, your health, and it's never too late to start listening to what it truly needs. Let's move forward, because the next truth is something you may have been carrying with you since childhood, and it might be hurting you more than you think. Truth number 3. Shame makes everything worse. We've uncovered the real impact of physical neglect. Let's talk about something deeper, something heavier, something most men carry for a lifetime without ever naming it. Shame. Most men were never taught how to think about their own bodies, let alone how to care for them with respect. Instead, from a young age, many were told that touching themselves was dirty, weak, or sinful. So they learned to hide, to silence their instincts, to feel guilt instead of connection. And over time, that shame didn't go away. It just sank deeper. It became background noise, like a low, constant hum in the nervous system. But here's the truth I want every man over 60 to hear. Shame isn't just emotional. It has real, measurable effects on your body. Chronic shame increases cortisol, the stress hormone. It disturbs sleep. It affects memory. And it slowly erodes your sense of self. I've seen this so many times. Men who come to me not because of a specific illness, but because they feel numb, disconnected, drained. And when we peel back the layers, what we often find isn't disease. It's unspoken guilt, the kind that's been there for decades. One man I worked with, his name was Robert, 72 years old, hadn't allowed himself any kind of self-touch in over 20 years. Not because of a medical condition, but because he thought it was wrong. He was raised in a strict household, taught that a man should be strong, controlled, and quiet about his needs. But Robert was tired. He couldn't sleep through the night. He felt no energy during the day, and the loneliness he described, it was crushing. We worked slowly, gently. He started with simply placing his hand on his chest each morning and saying, "This is my body. I'm still here." Over time, he relearned how to connect with himself. Not with lust, but with kindness. Not to chase pleasure, but to remind his body it was safe, worthy, and still alive. And do you know what happened? His sleep improved. His energy returned. He started going for walks again. But more than Thaith smiled more. He looked lighter. He spoke with softness in his voice. He told me, "I didn't know how heavy I'd been carrying this until I finally put it down." That's the power of releasing shame, of shifting from judgment to acceptance, from hiding to honoring. So if you've been holding on to guilt, if some part of you still believes your body is something to be ashamed of, I invite you to take a new path. Because what you've done to survive isn't who you have to be to heal. You're allowed to feel. You're allowed to touch. You're allowed to live without shame. And the moment you give yourself permission, everything changes. Next, we'll talk about a hormone you've probably heard of, but may not realize how much it still matters in your life. Especially now. Let's talk about testosterone and what happens when it's ignored. Truth number 4. Testosterone needs activation. Let's talk about the hormone that makes you feel like you. Testosterone. Now, I know the word gets thrown around a lot on commercials, in gyms, on supplements, but what most people don't tell you is that testosterone doesn't just drop because you're getting older. It drops because your brain stops asking for it. And do you know what signals your brain to keep producing testosterone? Touch. Arousal. Sexual activity, even if it's solo. When you stop engaging with your body, when you stop feeling desire or responding to it, your brain takes note. It quietly says, "We don't need this anymore." And slowly, without you even noticing, the fire fades. You might feel your belly growing, your muscles shrinking, your strength dipping, your motivation slipping. You may find yourself sleeping more but feeling more tired, losing interest in things you once loved, feeling like your spirit has dimmed. This isn't just aging. This is hormonal shutdown, and it's often avoidable. Let me tell you about a man named Tom. Tom was a retired firefighter, strong, stoic, brave. But when I met him at 67, he didn't feel strong anymore. His words to me were, "Doc, I don't feel like a man these days. I feel invisible." He'd stopped having sex years earlier after his wife passed. And somewhere along the way, he stopped touching himself too. Not because he didn't want to, but because he thought, what's the point? His energy was gone. His belly had grown. And he said he couldn't even look in the mirror without feeling like a stranger. We started small. Just 10 minutes a day, reconnecting with his body not in shame, but with curiosity. He began noticing what felt good again, what made him breathe deeper, what made his heart beat a little faster. Over a few months, his voice grew stronger. He started lifting light weights again. He told me he bought a new shirt for the first time in years because he wanted to be seen. When we tested his hormone levels, his testosterone had risen naturally. Not from pills, but from presence, from touch, from telling his brain, "I'm still here. I still need this." You see, testosterone isn't just a hormone. It's vitality. It's drive. It's your body's way of saying, I'm alive and I want to live. And the beautiful part? You don't need a partner to awaken it. You just need a willingness to connect with yourself again. So if you've been feeling tired, heavy, or invisible, don't ignore it. This could be your body asking for something it's been missing. You don't have to go back in time. You just have to go back inward. Coming up next, we'll talk about something even more surprising. How your erections are actually telling you something far more important than just what's happening below the belt. Let's dive into that next. Truth number 5. Erections follow the rule. Use it or lose it. What if I told you that your erections aren't just about sex? They're about survival. Your heart. Your brain. Even your lifespan. Erections are more than a bedroom function. They're a vital sign. A living signal from your body saying, hey, I'm still healthy, I'm still circulating, I'm still alive. And here's the hard truth. If you're not having regular erections, your body assumes you don't need them anymore. And it begins to let go. You see, every erection brings blood flow. That rush of oxygen-rich blood nourishes the soft tissues in the penis, keeps the blood vessels flexible, the nerves alert, the muscles responsive. But when erections stop happening, either from shame, inactivity, or simply neglect, those tissues begin to wither. The blood vessels stiffen. The elasticity fades. And with time, even the possibility of a firm erection starts to disappear. This isn't about having sex with a partner. This is about keeping your body's internal systems awake and active. Regular erections, whether from partnered intimacy or solo tukara-like exercise for your sexual system. Just as your legs get weaker if you stop walking, your sexual tissue does too if you stop using it. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Studies have found that erectile function is closely tied to cardiovascular health. In fact, one of the earliest warning signs of heart disease in men is difficulty achieving or maintaining an erection. Why? Because the same blood vessels that supply your heart also supply your penis. If blood flow is struggling down there, chances are it's struggling everywhere. Neurological function plays a role too. Your brain, your spinal cord, your nerve signals all contribute to healthy arousal. When erections are no longer part of your routine, those connections weaken. Your body literally forgets how to respond. But here's the good news. This decline isn't always permanent. Just like muscles respond to gentle training, your sexual function can respond to gentle, consistent attention. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to chase peak performance. You just need to show up for yourself. Touch yourself. Feel your breath. Notice your arousal. Even 10 minutes a few times a week can be enough to keep those tissues alive and that connection strong. I remember a man named Gerald, 73, widowed, quiet. He told me, I thought my days of feeling anything were over. But with guidance, he started to include mindful self-touch into his evening routine. Not to achieve anything, just to reconnect. After a month, he told me he was waking up with morning erections again. His words? It's like my body remembered it was still a man. And that's what I want you to take from this. Your erections are not just physical. They are a reflection of your entire health. They are worth keeping not for performance, but for presence. And if they've gone quiet, it's not too late to listen. Coming up next, we'll talk about something that's been silently hijacking the way men experience pleasure and how modern porn may be doing more harm than anyone realizes. Truth number 6, modern porn is numbing your emotions. You understand that erections reflect your overall health, not just your desire. But what happens when the source of stimulation itself becomes toxic? Let's talk about modern pornography. Today's porn is not what it used to be. It's faster, more intense, more extreme, and more detached from anything resembling real human intimacy. You can click from one video to the next in seconds each, one more graphic, louder, and more shocking than the last. And every time you do, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of reward, motivation, and craving. The problem? Your brain can't tell the difference between digital novelty and real human connection. So it chases the next clip, and the next, and the next. But eventually, something happens. You don't feel much anymore. The thrill fades. And even real, loving touch can feel flat, boring, or even invisible. I've spoken with so many good men who come into my office with tears in their eyes, saying things like, "I don't get excited with my wife anymore. I don't feel anything unless I'm watching something extreme. I feel broken." They're not broken. Their brains have simply been rewired. This kind of overstimulation floods your dopamine circuits, leaving you numb to everyday joy. It hijacks your attention. It weakens your ability to fantasize, imagine, and connect. It's not just about sex. It's about emotion. Men who consume high volumes of porn often report more anxiety, more depression, more loneliness. And yet so few talk about it. Because it feels shameful. Because it's easy to hide. Because it's become normal. But just because something is common doesn't mean it's healthy. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't about judgment. It's about healing. If you've relied on porn for years, you're not alone. If you're realizing now that it may have dulled your feelings, your arousal, your connection, you can begin again. And the first step is this. Take a break. Not forever, but long enough to let your brain recalibrate. Let it rediscover imagination. Let it rediscover you. One of my clients, Michael, told me he hadn't gone a week without porn in over a decade. He said it felt impossible to stop. But he made a choice. 1 week, then 2, then a month. He started journaling his dreams. He went for long walks in nature. He even began to meditate, something he once scoffed at. But the most powerful thing he told me? I started feeling real emotions again. I cried during a movie. I laughed without needing a screen. I felt human. That's the goal. Not to shame or punish yourself, but to reclaim your sensitivity. To return to the subtle, the slow, the real. Because when you stop chasing the artificial, you start awakening what's been there all along. Your ability to feel, to connect, to love both yourself and others. In our final truth, we'll look at something even deeper. Not about hormones, not about the body, but about the Suland, the hidden danger that comes when we stop touching, not just physically, but emotionally. Let's talk about isolation. Truth number 7. The greatest danger is isolation. Of all the truths we've explored so far about your body, your hormones, your health, this last one reaches deeper. It speaks not just to the physical, but to your heart, your soul, and your deepest human needs. The truth is this. The greatest threat to your well-being as you age isn't disease. It's not low testosterone. It's not even sexual dysfunction. It's isolation. And I don't just mean social isolation, though that's certainly real and painful. I mean something even more hidden, the loss of touch. The kind of touch that tells your nervous system, I am safe, I am not alone, I matter. When you stop being touched, or when you stop touching yourself with intention, your body notices. And one of the first things that begins to decline is oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It's released through hugs, through eye contact, through skin-to-skin connection. It calms your nervous system, lowers stress, strengthens your heart, and reminds you that you are part of something bigger than yourself. But when you go days, weeks, even years without physical connection, oxytocin levels fall. And so do your feelings of hope, your resilience, your will to engage. And here's the part most men never realize. Loneliness doesn't always begin when other people walk away. Sometimes, it begins when you stop reaching inward. When you stop placing a hand on your chest and feeling your own breath. When you stop holding your own hand when you're hurting. When you stop recognizing your body as a place worth caring for. A touch doesn't need to be erotic to be powerful. It just needs to be real. A hand over your heart in the morning. A slow, intentional breath as you trace the outline of your shoulders. A gentle massage of your scalp before bed. These aren't silly. They're sacred. They're how your nervous system knows it's still part of the world. I once worked with a man named Louis, 74, living alone, widowed for over a decade. He told me, "I didn't realize how long it had been since anyone touched me." But more than that, he said, "I didn't realize how long it had been since I touched me." We started small. Not with instructions or techniques, just an invitation. To sit with his body each night. To thank it for surviving. To offer it one kind, gentle gesture, no goal, no shame. And slowly, he began to come back to life. Not through conversation. Not through medicine. But through connection. You see, we are wired for touch. Without it, we grow hard. We grow distant. And eventually, we grow invisible to ourselves. But that can change today. Right now. You don't need anyone else to begin. Just your own hands. Your own presence. And the courage to say, "I'm still here. I still matter. I still deserve connection." Because sometimes, the most healing touch in the world is the one you offer to yourself. You've heard the 7 truths I wish every man over 60 could hear, without fear, without shame, and without judgment. Because in the end, this video wasn't about sex. It was about life. About how your body still speaks 7 when the world has gone quiet. And how your health, your joy, your connection, your strength, they don't fade because of age. They fade because of neglect. But here's the beautiful part. You can reverse that. You can awaken it all again with time, with care, and with intention. So let me say it one more time, clearly and from the heart. Touching yourself is not shameful. It is not something to outgrow. It is a declaration that you are still here, still alive, still full of possibility. You don't need anyone else to begin. You don't need performance. You don't need perfection. All you need is 10 quiet minutes. Each day, with no rush, no pressure. Just you, reminding your body, "I am home. I am present. I am worth loving." Let's quickly recall what we've uncovered together. Mindless masturbation can disconnect you, but mindful touch can reconnect you. Ejaculation supports prostate health and protects against inflammation. Shame harms your body just as much as your mind. Testosterone needs activation, and your touch is the signal. Erections are a marker of full body health. Modern porn can dull your feelings, but you can reclaim your real emotions. And most importantly, isolation begins when you stop touching yourself, not with lust, but with care. So now, I ask you, if this message spoke to you, if it stirred something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Click that like button. Share it with a friend who might need to hear these words. And in the comments write, 1, if you're ready to come back to life. 0 if you're still unsure, and I'll be right here with you. Because wherever you are on this journey, you're not alone. You never were. And the moment you decide to reconnect is the moment everything can begin again. I'm Dr. Sarah Bennett. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You deserve it.